Today we have a close quarters game for you. Compared to the open field games, close quarters brings a whole new set of problems to the table. Lack of random terrain, forced funneling in narrow hallways, exposed mission objectives, requiring more action points to be used to open doors. We'll be using the Critical Ops pack to select the mission. Games Workshop released a free pack on their website to go with the deck of cards to be used if you wish to use the close quarters rules. Randomly drawn is the center kill zone, which is translated to channels for close quarters, and we'll be dealing with the loot mission. The need to spend action points for capturing loot on top of opening doors adds its own layer of struggle. 3 separate paths to take, 6 mission objectives, each with a limit to the amount of times you can gain mission points from them. Nothing but problems ahead. I will be managing a Legionary kill team. Knowing my opponent's faction, I've decided to rely on a split between ranged and melee. I'm going with a Chosen leader. Combat will be unavoidable, and I like the healing that the Chosen can potentially gain from melee. I'll equip him with a Grizzly trophy, and he'll have his trusty plasma pistol. A plasma gunner seems like a good option. Personally, I'd like to use a flamer, but I don't have the model ready, so I will also take a heavy gunner to support the team from the back, and I will be going with a Reaper chain cannon. My plan is to not use the double shoot ploy a lot, so the chain cannon tends to edge out the heavy bolter in that situation. He'll have warded armor and a suspensor system. To bolster the melee I will need in close quarters, I decided to go with an anointed. Hopefully he can spring a trap and go demon mode, tearing through swaths of enemies. I will also be taking a butcher to possibly spread some damage in more tightly packed situations. I'll be bringing along an icon bearer with a bolt gun as well. I don't think I'll be needing chainsword melee and could do with some extra ranged. The melee on the team will all be set with Marks of Khorne, and the ranged will all be set with Marks of Nurgle. My opponent will be playing his Corsairs. Their mobility and melee prowess is something to fear, even for elite teams like the Legionary. His Felarch will have a Neuro Disruptor and a Mist Field, close range focused and with great protection for the teammates around him. He'll take a gunner with a blaster, the obvious choice against heavily armored units. He'll have an Ocular Scanner. A Starstorm Duelist being capable of charging into melee and still shooting so enemies can't retaliate is not something to be underestimated. A Kernite Hunter will join the mix and be equipped with a Plasma Grenade. The Hawk ability on it hasn't been something we've used well in the past, but it is basically a power weapon warrior anyway. A Shade Runner will bolster the melee of the Corsairs. Its flight ability isn't as useful in close quarters, but it is still allowed to go over units and barricades, which in tight situations can be truly a massive asset. A Kernathi will also bring its dueling potential to help, a balance of aggression and defense in melee combat. A Fate Dealer will cover the team from behind. A Wayseeker in a Lodestone helmet will bring his sorcery to the field, adding to the bag of tricks the Eldari need to survive. And a Soul Weaver will try and keep the frail Xenos healed up and ready for a fight. Currently, Chaos Legionary are pretty strong, but the Corsairs in the right hands can unravel enemy plans by simply outmaneuvering them. We'll have to see if the denizens of the Warp will favor their Chaos Apostles during this raid deep in the Gallowdark. Not unlike the last battle report we posted, apologies in advance. This report is part of a batch of videos that recorded at a lower resolution and without the dice box due to a programming error. With that said, we will press on and I'll give you all the info as it comes up. The first initiative roll of the game, and the Corsairs take it. Already the Chaos Gods are turning away from their acolytes. The Legionary are appointed defenders. With the barricades placed, both teams will split their units into 3 semi-even groups and take turns placing them in the drop zones along the north and south edge. To start, the Butcher and the Anointed will be split between point 1 and 2. The Corsairs place the Hunter, Kernathi, and Wayseeker near each point. Full first turn coverage. The Reaper Chain Cannon joins the Butcher in support, and the Plasma Gunner goes right of center to support the Anointed in the center zone. The Weaver joins the Kernathi along with the Starstorm Duelist, and the Shade Runner joins the Wayseeker. The Icon Bearer takes position near the Butcher, and the Chosen moves to aid the Anointed. Already the Legionary begin consolidating in the bottom left half of the board. Finally, the Fate Dealer positions for the center zone, and the Gunner and the Felarch reinforce the right side. Out of fear of losing the melee struggle on the right side of the board, I opted to condense on the left since there is no door on the bottom right that can be used to outflank from behind. The Corsairs will have to force their way across the center room to take the left side. Scouting phase cards are picked, Recon for the Legionaries, and Fortify for the Corsairs, giving Chaos the first activation. That is, had my friend not verbally smoke-bombed me into thinking Fortify beats Recon on initiative. This happens once in a while when someone will say something wrong with enough confidence that it brings to question what I know is right, so we go forward under this error. The Chaos Icon Bear dashes into the kill zone for his Recon move. This is key in using a Nurgle strategic ploy for free in the first turn with the Favorite of the Dark Gods ability. Recon is one of the stronger starts for Legionary. The Corsairs place an additional barricade in the center room in a forward position. Command points are generated, bringing both teams to 4 at the start of the strategy phase. Corsairs activate Plunderers, dashing 3 operatives into forward positions near point 4. Mutagenic Flesh is played for free due to the Icon Bearer having dashed into the zone. This will reduce normal damage done to the units with Nurgle marks. They are already very durable, and this just puts that over the top. For Tac Ops, the Corsairs reveal Courier, which is set to the Duelist, and Surge Forward. Leaving the right side of the map open has basically ensured both of these will be maxed easily. No Tac Ops are revealed for the Legionary. With everything set up, we enter turn 1. It's worth noting at this point we are running on the understanding that mission actions as a whole can only be done once an activation. It wasn't until later that we found out the limit is only on types of actions. One cannot activate the door to open, shoot, and then activate the door to close. However, you can open the door and loot a point in the same activation. The opening action for the Corsairs is to activate the Lone Hunter to dash up to the point and capture it, ensuring that it is locked out for the rest of the turn. It then goes on guard and stays put. The Chaos Icon Bearer moves up to the door below the Hunter and just outside of its pistol retaliation range, pops the door and opens fire. A crit and 3 hits is an amazing opening against a flimsy Eldari, at least until he rolls 2 crit saves and a normal, leaving only 3 damage to go through. Not even injured. The Corsair Felarch activates and marks his nearby Kurnathi to activate afterwards using his coordinated strike ability. He then proceeds through the door to point 3. The Kurnathi follows him and captures point 3. The Butcher activates. Even though it can't capture the northern point, the Hunter needs to die before turn 2 to secure that side of the board. Sadly, it is unable to charge into melee and will have to get close enough to it to take a volley of guard attacks in order to shoot. It runs within 2 inches of it to prevent the use of the grenade, which would hit itself. The guard attack will be with the Shuriken pistol. Even with the reduction in the to-hit roll, it still rolls 1 crit and 2 hits. Rending ups it to 2 crits and a hit. With 1 save rolled, the Butcher takes a whopping 8 wounds. Everything is going off the rails. The Butcher returns fire with his bolt pistol. 2 hits, 2 misses with the reduced ballistic skill. Both saved. Thankfully, the Legionary have Veteran of the Long War. Since no damage went through, the whole attack is rerolled at the cost of 1 command point. With a crit and 3 hits against no saves, the Hunter falls. So much effort to kill 1 Xenos. The Starstorm Duelist is activated, dashes to the door into the main room, opens it, and moves to join the Felarch at point 3. The Anointed activates and opens a door as it moves through. I would have been able to capture the point here, but the earlier stated error had us both believing that we couldn't. The Soul Weaver moves to point 4 and captures it, ending its activation in cover. The Reaper Chain Cannon dashes to point 1, captures it, and moves towards the middle room in preparation for turn 2. The Wayseeker opens the mid door and dashes back. The Chosen activates and moves up to capture point 2 and dashes into a corner, out of sight of the Fate Dealer. The Shade Runner dashes into the middle room and captures point 5. The Legionary Gunner repositions near the door into the middle room. With that, the Legion are out of units. The only easily visible units are in conceal and in cover at this point. The Corsair Fate Dealer moves into the middle room to support the Shade Runner, and the Blaster positions near a door to watch over the middle room. And with that, turn 1 comes to an end. Turn 1 has established that this will be a horrible uphill battle for the Legionary. Allowing the Corsairs to have the right side of the map has made it near impossible to prevent them from scoring a lot on tac ops. And the mistake with who had the first activation ensured that the Hunter was able to take a main point for free. Even on top of that, the Hunter pulled off a miracle by surviving and rendering the Butcher into a useless state. With turn 1 complete, the Legion have only scored 2 points on their main and nothing on tac ops, and the Corsairs have scored 4 on main and 1 on each tac op. With that, we enter a demoralizing turn 2. The Legionary take the initiative, a light in the dark, but there is much work to do. Both teams generate a command point. Legionary use mutagenic flesh for free again. The Corsairs use rapid strike. It is a way in combat to guarantee critical strikes. This makes activation on the Legion side very important. The Legionary activate perpetual aggression for free. This allows their corn-marked units to recharge after winning a combat. Good against tightly packed enemies if they get within striking range. In the tac ops phase, the Legion reveal eliminate guards. The Shade Runner is marked for death. They also reveal the faction tac ops Savage Butcher. The Chosen is marked as the Butcher and has to start killing enemies in melee. No new tac ops for the Corsairs. The opening activation for the Legionary is to start things off in a very dangerous and aggressive way. The Chosen moves and dashes up to the Shade Runner and unleashes an overheated plasma pistol on it. Being within 3 inches overrides the cover that would normally protect the concealed Shade Runner. 3 hits and an overheat rolled. The Shade Runner can't even prevent the death, but the Chosen takes 3 mortal wounds. A massively risky play, but that Shade Runner needed to die. The Corsair Felarch activates and doubles up with the Kernathi. They both reposition to a safe place and activate guard. The Plasma Gunner activates and moves up to the Anointed. The Blaster is in engage and can be seen through the open door, firing a volley of overcharged shots. 2 hits and 2 misses involving an overheat. I chose to command reroll since the 2 hits might not kill. The overheat becomes a hit. No chance to save. The Blaster is dead before being used. Point 2 is capped. The Wayseeker activates and moves up to cast Arc Lightning on the Chosen. 1 crit and 2 command point rerolls for the misses, gaining them as hits instead. With the 1 armor penetration, the Chosen can only roll 2 saves and only 1 is retained as a normal. A command reroll is spent on the miss to make it a save, 5 damage on the Chosen. Then point 5 is captured, since the Corsairs have enough APL on the point. In retaliation, the Reaper Chain Cannon activates, opens the door and dashes into a better position where the cover lines see the Wayseeker without passing over allies to reduce the shots. Open fire, full spin. An astonishing 4 crits and 2 hits. Even if 3 crit saves are rolled, the damage is too great. The Wayseeker falls. The Fate Dealer repositions with a dash, uses Take Aim to get the free reroll, and opens fire on the wounded Chosen. Thanks to the reroll, he lands 3 hits and a crit. The gods are not impressed as the Chosen falls, locking me out of the faction tac op. The Wounded Butcher activates and captures point 6. This will be his only purpose until the end. The Soul Weaver caps point 4 again and repositions to a better place in cover. The Anointed moves and dashes through a door on the Corsair's side in preparation to unleash himself in the following turns. The Starstorm captures point 3 and repositions to support point 4. The Icon Bearer closes out turn 2 by dashing to point 1, captures it, and repositions to point 2 to reinforce the middle room. The Corsair's momentum can't seem to be stopped. No rest for the wicked here, with the Legionary constantly fighting from the back foot while the Corsairs barely even need their strongest units on the front line. The end of the game is becoming very clear. Marking the Chosen as the team's butcher only to death run him into a situation that needed to happen ended up being a massive mistake. And mistakes really have become the theme for this outing with the Legionary. The Legion score 1 on eliminate guards and 3 on primaries. The Corsair finish out both of their revealed tac ops and score 3 on primaries as well. Despite the one-sided nature of this fight, we enter turn 3. Corsairs take the initiative on a tie roll. The gods have lost all interest in this duel. The teams generate a command point, and the Corsairs use outcasts to increase their damage potential for units that are separated from their team. Chaos still receives the favor for the free mutagenic flesh on their ranged units. Corsairs use Rapid Strike again, and the Legion activate Blood for the Blood God. In the TAC Ops phase, Corsairs reveals Flawless Raid, and gains a point since they are kicking my ass. For the opening activation, the Fate Dealer dashes onto point 5 and captures it. He then opens fire on the Plasma Gunner. Gaining the benefit for outcasts, his 1 crit allows 1 miss to be upgraded, blasting the gunner with 3 hits and a crit. The gunner gets 2 saves and upgrades 1 to a crit. The reason for this is that mutagenic flesh only lowers normal damage. This means he only takes 7 damage total. The Anointed releases the shackles on his inner demon and charges the Fate Dealer. After rending, he puts up 3 crits and a hit against the Aldari's 2 hits. Pushing 2 crits through gets the kill, and Feel No Pain reduces the hit to 1 damage taken. Rob and Ransack is revealed and a point is gained. The demon prevents the Anointed from using shooting, so guard is out of the option. The Starstorm Duelist moves and dashes into position on point 2 and unloads its pistol barrage. Opening with the Shuriken pistol on the Plasma Gunner, he lands a crit and a hit. With outcasts and rending, a miss gets bumped all the way to a crit. The Gunner responds with a crit and a normal save, upping the normal to another crit. Only 2 damage. With the desire to finish the job, the Fusion Pistol is used. 2 hits. The Gunner falls. The Icon Bearer captures point 2 and moves across the room, opening fire on the Starstorm Duelist. 3 hits and a crit with only 1 save from the Aldari. 9 damage for a guaranteed death. It is at this point scoring is sadly called. It is very clear how this is going to end. We run down the rest of the turn. The Soul Weaver would finish out point 4 and join her teammates in point 3's room. At this point, all the loot tokens would be dry for turn 4. This would give 3 points to each team on their primaries. The Corsairs would have, at this point, completed all their secondary missions. The Legionary would finish Rob and Ransack due to the Anointed surviving, as the Corsairs are fleeing. But Butcher isn't scoreable, and with no enemies on backline points, Eliminate Guards can't be finished. So, this leaves the final score. $11 for the Legionary, 16 for the Corsairs. A dominant victory for the Corsairs. Even if the errors hadn't occurred early on, that would have only been a 2-point swing at most. Leaving the right side of the field so open was a massive mistake, but that came from my inexperience with the recon TAC Ops. Even if I had positioned people over there, they wouldn't have lasted long against a Starstorm Duelist and the Kurnathi, especially on their own. It is hard to consider this matchup. Potentially using a Shrieve Talon would have had more impact if the team wanted to cover the full field. The Mark of Slaanesh may have been a better option than Khorne as well, as the added mobility would have caused problems for the Corsairs' positioning. All this information will simply be filed away for future runs with the Legionary. For today, the Corsairs stand victorious. If you enjoyed this video and are interested in learning more about Kill Team, or possibly even other tabletop games, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I also have Twitter and a community Discord set up if you are interested. Let me know if you want to see other matchups as well. Between my friends and I, we have pretty much all of the bespoke teams and many of the compendium teams. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.